Let's cross live now to geopolitical analyst Munir Ahmed for his take. Munir, you're very welcome. Financial aid to Ukraine is essentially being presented as a gift. And in a recent article, you wrote that Ukraine will eventually become an economic slave to the US, the IMF and the EU. Can you briefly take us through that?
The recent reactivation of Lend-Lease Act that was signed on Monday, the one line of that agreement states that Ukraine has to pay back, and how Ukraine would pay back all the shipments, military shipments that was sent to Ukraine to fight against Russia. And yesterday, US approved $40 billion military aid to Ukraine to fight the war. What they call it. And also President Vladimir Zelensky has asked IMF to borrow them $7 billion a month for next 3 months. Okay, who will ensure that after 3 months the economy of Ukraine will be in good shape and they will be able to pay back? On the other hand, European Union is planning to lend 21 billion euros, 15 billion euros to Ukraine. This is the entire net that is being developed around Ukraine is the debt trap that usually these countries, these capitalist countries have developed against several other countries. In 60s, till 60s, Pakistan has been a very a wonderful country, self-sufficient, self-reliant, and afterwards when we started borrowing money at this moment, we are striving for $1 billion installment from IMF, and we are victim of several billion-dollar debt, and we cannot move out of that trap.
And that all leads to the point, doesn't it, Munir, that the US says it will do everything to protect Ukrainian sovereignty, but the Lend-Lease Act is actually looking like it's compromising that sovereignty.
Of course that is, because if you go through the act, it is basically the reactivation of World War II Act. It means like the US and the allies will be going to fight against Russia together, and all the money has to be paid by the Ukraine. And in fact, like if philosophically we could say, or politically we could say that the President Zelensky and Ukraine has already compromised their sovereignty over the decade. The revolution that occurred in 2005, do you think that was a revolution, or it was another act that compromised Ukraine's sovereignty?
Yeah.
And all the debt that is being built up around Ukraine would definitely compromise their sovereignty. And President Zelensky, who has no political wisdom, is compromising on the respect and honor of their nation.
And on the figures themselves, it took the British around 60 years to pay off their war debt to America recently. How do you rate Ukraine's chances of ever being able to pay off this debt?
The money we borrowed in 60s, we could not pay off so far. And if Britain has to take 6 decades to pay off World War II debt, then certainly Ukraine may take like another 200 or maybe 300 years to pay off, or maybe not able to cope up with the challenge of debt. And this is the right moment. They need to act wisely, and politically they need to survive in the Committee of Nations as an independent nation, instead of the US and the EU influenced country. And the NATO membership will not going to help Ukraine or other countries. As you have seen already, the NATO countries always suffer because they have to pay the bill of the US wrong decisions. For example, 9/11, and before that, a war that was in Afghanistan. The 40 years in Afghanistan has been total failure. We have seen the consequence, and it has created a lot of chaos world over.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge to the peace and prosperity of the Committee of Nations worldwide.
And Mr. Ahmed, just a point on the other side of this Lend-Lease Act, the recipients. Why do you think President Zelensky is so willing to take on, as you've been describing there, such a debt?
He's not politically wise, and he's not even politically correct. And I don't know, like, how, I'm sorry, but it's the will and the vote of the Ukrainian people. They have selected their president, but afterwards he has to take care of the national interest. But the political decisions are not very wise. And I have written in my piece that a poor neighborhood, a poor, peaceful neighborhood is much better than the rich, shrewd neighborhood. So, or the friend. So we need to take care of while having relationships. And I have already been, written a lot about our own Pakistan's relationship with the neighborhoods. And recently, we have seen in the recent years, Pakistan is trying to improve. I think Pakistan is a good case study for Ukraine to learn from. That what miseries can bring that, and what having no good relationships with the neighborhoods would bring a result economically and politically.
And just a note on the ramifications as well of this. The EU is planning to fund the expenses of the Ukrainian government for at least 3 months. That equates to billions of dollars. Could that hurt the EU economy as well?
Of course, most of the countries, like when European Commission spoke to the ambassadors of the European Union members, they were really reluctant to launch such kind of campaign that to raise like 15 billion euros. But still, the European Union has decided to take the bill of all these things for the Ukraine. But definitely, they are very scared of the economic crunch, and the same they have suffered from the 9/11 incident also, where they were not responsible, but they had to pay the bill for the U.S. wrongdoings. And same is the case here. And they are reluctant, especially some vocal voices. They are raising their brows. So I don't know.
All right.
If I don't know if they would be able, but they would be forced to do so, and that would make lives of the European peoples more miserable while they are suffering. They had suffered from COVID-19 and the economic crunch that was there, and they have lost their jobs, and their businesses are not doing well, and their organizations are failing to deliver. In such the circumstances, it would be another big blow to the economy and the people of the European Union.
Yeah, a lot of interesting points you've taken us through there today. Munir Ahmed, geopolitical analyst, thank you very much for coming on the program and sharing your views.
Okay, thank you.